Hello, beautiful. Welcome to this episode of Real Magic. I am excited to drop in with you today, and we're going to be talking all about embracing your power. And there's some things that have been forward that I want to explore in this conversation and also bring forward in our community. And so, as you're listening, I really invite you to find what feels true for you. So you can use my words, my offerings, my transmissions, my stories as an invitation to explore what's real and what's true for you. So, um, that's my offering here. I will be asking lots of questions. And so you may want to grab a pen and paper if you enjoy journaling or, taking time to really reflect on different questions. You may want to grab a pen or paper to write the questions down so that you can revisit them and dive deeper into them. And also, you can pause this video at any time as you are going through it. So, yes. So, before we dive in, what I also want to say is I opened a new Facebook community. So, we now have the Rise Together Facebook community, which I'm really excited about. And part of me is just um, excited to come back to a space where we can dive deeper and also find the openings. So if you haven't already, I invite you to join us there. It's Rise Together. Yeah. So my intention for that community really is to have a sacred space for us to experiment, to experiment with being vulnerable and allowing ourselves to be more intimate with each other, with life. When we are in the embodiment process, it can be clumsy. And, um, you know, it's one thing to have spiritual gifts, right? And you can show up in a session and hold a client. And it's another to be able to really apply and embody those gifts and that magic in your everyday life. So, whether that's speaking what feels true for you or sharing from a vulnerable space, right? No matter what it is, those edges are more challenging. And so, I desire the Rise Together community to be a place where we can really begin to stretch those edges and expand our capacity, right, to show up more as ourselves in a community. And, I truly believe when we begin to receive those imprints of doing it one place, we can expand even more to do it other places. So then we can bring it into our relationships with our significant others or more into our business, right? And so that's my desire for this space. And with that being said, one of the themes that's been coming forward for this community, sometimes when I start to move towards things, I don't always have the clarity of what it's for. I don't always have the tagline or the full vision of the container. And so when I started to move towards the Rise Together community, I had some ideas, but I didn't really have the full container. And as women began to join, it became clear. And what came forward is it's time to embrace our power. And, I really love this word embrace because I feel like we're moving into a new space and into a new relationship with power. And we're doing this as an individual and also as a collective. And it's a little bumpy, you know, um, and it's not about claiming or taking, right? That feels like this old masculine way where we had to take something, you know, or like claim it for ourselves, like take a stand. And, you know, what feels really true for me is our power is a natural part of us. It's our breath. It's our blood flowing through our beingness. And we don't have to take it. We don't have to claim it. It is already there. What we really need to do is to embrace it, to include it, to allow it to transform us, right, as an individual. And the more we can do that, the more we can then open to allowing our power to meet the world and to begin to transform the world, whether that's your clients, your relationships with your significant others, the relationships with your friends. And so I want to talk more about this today and, you know, the mirror of what is happening both, you know, on the individual scale and also the collective scale. And, you know, some of the topics that may bring us there are money, and really taking a look at the old constructs of what it has maybe meant to be powerful. And even, you know, in your own system, where have you maybe shield yourself away from power, or where have you attracted relationships even with people that have been in leadership or authoritative positions, and maybe they have overpowered you? You felt overpowered, or you felt they misused their power. I want to invite you to look at this, because I feel it's really important. It's important for us to move closer to these places if we want to reclaim our own sovereignty. And, you know, one of the things that happens is when we are um, when you're a healer and you begin to move towards creating a successful business, it can be really tricky. And one of the reasons is because it can be really easy to give your power away to your business, or to money, or to the way that you should be creating your business, right? Strategy. And when we are handing over our power to these things, we're losing the very essence of who we are. And now more than ever, we need to be seated in ourself. We need to be seated in our center and making decisions from that space. And one of the things that I'm really on a mission to help women with, especially spiritual leaders, is to find that center so they can begin to navigate their business, their relationship, their lives from that center, being seated in themselves, being seated in their power, embracing it, and leading from that space. You know, sometimes that looks like being patient and being a witness to everything that's swirling around, not participating in it, not judging it, but really just noticing it and discerning, you know, what are you being called to do? So it's not following the crowd, right? But it's really plugging into your own source, the source that flows through you. And then from that space, seeing what feels so and what feels true. And so this is where, we're going. This is the space that I'm desiring for us. So I guess it was about a week ago. I was filing my taxes, and um, I had a few different conversations with people, and I noticed right away. So the money energy was forward, right? I noticed right away that my energy level dropped, and I started to feel a little bit annoyed and irritated. And I started to just notice, right? Notice. And I let myself be there. I wasn't trying to change it, but I was just noticing and also getting really curious. And the next morning when I woke up, I still felt this like sticky, muddy energy. And it really didn't feel good, and it didn't completely feel like my energy. And so I ended up dropping into meditation. And I also grabbed my journal, and I started to get really curious about what is this. And what it felt like it was all this muddiness around money. And where we should be using our resources, right? Where should we be spending money? So for a lot of people right now, job security, is like on the line. I was telling James this morning, my stepdad, he is still working, and he's nervous. He's nervous. Like, there could be any day that, maybe they don't have work for him anymore. My mom's a school teacher, so she has some job security. I'm a healer, and I've been doing this business thing for 10 years now. And so I don't necessarily have job security. And at the same time, what I do have is this um, deeper job security, this relationship with the divine, where I've built this trust, this foundation over the years of trusting the bigger picture, the bigger unraveling, and also knowing that my needs will be met. And so, on many levels, I'm able to sort of like surrender into that. So yeah, so this idea of money, and also noticing the people that are still wanting to run their businesses the same way that they've been running them. And also the businesses that are, maybe in-person businesses that are wanting to run their businesses the same way they've been running them. So they're ready to hurry up and get back to things, right? Or even if we look at this on the bigger collective scale, if you live in the United States, the president wanting to open things up again, right? And just get back to the way that we've been doing things. So I started to feel all this muddiness, right? So there's that, and then there's some fear, and then there's like this collapsed energy of, well, to get unemployment or to get the benefits, you have to do these certain things, right? And then you're sort of listening to what the government tells you you can and cannot do, right? And they've made it to where with those benefits, you're actually, for a lot of people, they're making more than they would be making at their normal job, right? So it becomes really compelling, but there's sort of like this collapsed energy in it, right? In the way that the system has been running. And so I just sat and I was noticing all of this muddy energy and this sticky energy. And I got really curious about, um, what is true for me? Because what I found was, in all of that muddiness, there was a part of me that was not wanting to participate. Like, well, I don't even really want to participate in the money system. And like, yes, we need money, but this is all changing anyway. And so I could feel this part of me that really kind of wanted to just go over there and do my own thing and maybe not be part of the system. And at the same time, the reality of it is, right, this is where we are. This is where we are. And the money system is what we're using right now. And so I allowed myself to stay present with it. And I also allowed myself to look at these things that I'm asking you to look at, these old power dynamics, because all this muddy energy around money actually was this old power energy trying to control things. And so, yeah, I started to look at that and also look at if I truly look at just money energy. You know, I can see all the muddiness around it, but if I look at the energy of money, it's clear. It's very clear. It's not confusing at all. It's clear, it's direct. And so it's the power struggle, it's the power dynamic that is muddy. And you know, we're at this place where we're really being given the opportunity to look at that, right? And to reclaim the places where we have maybe given our power away to these false authorities. The truth is, you are your own authority. And so I want to invite you just to take a breath there. You can see what feels true for you. Maybe notice, you know, the places that you've given your power away to money, to the system, to old authorities, to old power struggles. To success. One thing that I noticed too, you know, when I was looking at this energy dynamic was when we are not comfortable feeling or navigating, let me say that, when we are not comfortable navigating the complexity of the energetic. So when you go towards, and I'm just going to use money because it's a clear, I think it's a clear 3D thing that we can use to look at these dynamics. So when you start to go towards money and you begin to feel that muddiness, right? And for some people, that muddiness might be you want money, but you know, you don't know how your spouse is going to respond. Or maybe you want to spend money. You know, there's something you desire, but if you spend it, you don't know how your spouse is going to respond, right? So then there's this story around, well, I don't know if I should spend the money on that. And we pretend like it's about money, but really the true energetic dynamic is your relationship with your spouse and you being afraid of how he or she will respond or the feelings that will emerge for them, right? So money is a mirror, it's a reflection. Another example could be maybe you want to make money in your business and you're afraid of, if you begin to ask for money, how the other person is going to respond, how the client is going to respond. What if they don't want your service anymore? What if they can't afford it? And that brings forward feelings for you, right? So again, we can put this this mask on and pretend it's like about the money, but the truth is it's not. It's these other energetics, and it's these parts of you that may not know how to navigate the deeper energies, the complexity of feeling the dynamics, right? And staying sovereign in yourself amongst those energetic dynamics. And, you know, when I was journaling about this, some of the things that also came forward for me, you know, is the way in online business, there has been this power game. I'm going to charge you a high amount of money so that you can make a higher amount of money. Or I'm going to charge you this price so that you can make more money or charge more, you know, and it gets me really curious. Like, what are we really doing? You know, and I've found myself for probably over a year now, like really not wanting to participate in that anymore. And yet, I can feel the parts of me that are still unsure of like, well, then what is the value? You know, like where are the deeper values, and how do we do it? Right. And, you know, for me, I know these things deep in my core, and yet there's like this awkwardness between the depth of what I feel and bringing it into the world, or feeling received by the world. Let me say that. And so, yeah, in complete transparency, I'm in the middle of this inquiry with this, you know, and I truly believe that this is up for a lot of people. So I just invite us to be deep, you know, go deeper into it, to explore it. So you can notice, you know, what's coming forward for you around this. Where are you giving your power away? And, you know, it's okay. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to be in inquiry. And it's also okay to claim that, right? Like, it's kind of still muddy. I'm not sure. I'm in the process right now. I don't completely know. I feel like we need to expand our capacity for that, right? Because there's a way that in wanting to get to the end point, we give our power away to that, right? To the success, to the goal. It's tricky. And, you know, if we look at what's going on in the collective, in the world right now, what we're undergoing is not a sprint. It's not something quick. It's going to take years for the money system to change. It's going to take years for the government to change. And so we have to expand our capacity to be able to be in process and still function, right? To be intimate with life while we are in process, which sometimes means being vulnerable. It can feel really vulnerable to share, you know, and to let people see you for where you are. To be a leader and to say, you know what, I'm still in process around this. I don't really know where I stand. I don't know 100% how I feel about it. And that's okay. when you stay true with where you are, that's your sovereignty, right? You're not trying to pretend, you're not trying to make a decision just to make a decision. You're not trying to follow the crowd. And so I want to talk about success a little bit more. This is another inquiry that I've been deep in. And, I feel like there's infinite space to explore here. And so um, it feels more like a discovering, not there is no endpoint, and I've really been um, exploring, like, what do I really, if I die, what do I want to be known for when I die? Because we all will die, right? What is it that I really want to be known for? And, I even told James, like, even if we look at people that maybe we view as successful, right? So if we look at a movie star, a lot of movie stars, like, you might remember them for one of their videos, one of their movies, right? Would that really be what you would want to be known for? Like one piece of art, or one movie, or one creation in your business? Or would you desire to be known for something deeper, different? There's no right or wrong answers here. So for me, what was coming forward is, like, I really desire to be known for my heart, you know, for the moments that I spend with people and they just feel me and they're like, thank you. Not even, and when I was thinking about this, I was like, I don't even know if I would want to be known for, like, my energy sessions. Like, yeah, I'm a pretty amazing healer. Yes. And, like, I don't need to be known for that. Like, I desire to be known for the moments that I have with people, and people remembering me for those moments, for those deep connections, not for necessarily how I help them in a session, which, I mean, it could be both, right? So I get curious, like, what comes forward for you? I even started to think of some of the people in my life, what I would remember about them, and remember most about them. Let me say that. And as me and James were in this exploration, what we were noticing is what we would remember most about them is their essence. The way they made people laugh, the way they made people feel, not their job, not how much money they had, not any goals that they strived for. And I wonder, like, if we allowed ourselves to be more present, because the truth is, when we are busy striving for those things, for the money, for the goal, for the next thing to achieve, what happens is we're pulling ourselves out of the moment, and we're missing the moments where we actually get to make those impacts, where we have those intimate connections, the type where you you have to actually leave yourself a little bit to meet the other person in this neutral space where something magical happens. There's an opening. You know, relationships are scary. And one of the reasons is because, you know, when we are in a relationship, we have our individual energy and then we have the relationship energy. And for a lot of us, kind of like the same thing with money, the relationship energy can it can show up as a mirror, and so then we can create all these stories about ourself or the other person, or we put up all these protections, right? Because it doesn't necessarily feel good or feel safe. But you know, a true relationship, like the actual energetic of the relationship between this person and this person, there's this space in between where each person has to sort of leave themselves a little bit to meet in that union, in that relationship. And that's the space where love exists. And that can be really scary because it transforms you. You have to be willing to let go to be there. And so a lot of people are in relationship and they're in more of the illusion of relationship. It's like in the patterns and the protections. And so the relationship you're experiencing is this distortion, just as the same exact thing, right? That happens with money. It's this distorted relationship. And to get back to that clarity, we have to find the clarity within ourselves. We have to find that central point, that sovereignty, the ability to be in the storm and to not be swept up in the storm, and to still find opening, to be able to make discern decisions. You have to have an open heart, and it's scary. So I want to just take a few breaths with you. You can notice what's coming forward for you. And you can notice the uncertainty, the not knowing. Another reason it's so vulnerable, because we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. What if we open ourselves enough to meet the other person there and they don't show up? That feels scary. What if we open ourselves to allow someone else to see us without the protections or the armor, and they don't see us? That can feel really scary, really vulnerable. Or they see their distortion of themselves, right? I had this experience with James for a while, you know, like I was shedding, and, you know, I felt the places where I've changed a lot and felt soft and open and pretty surrendered and um, compassionate. And he was still seeing me as who I was a few years ago, scared, controlling, structured, which, if you've been in my community for a while, you're probably like, you're not very structured. And in a lot of ways, I'm not. And in some ways, I really do like structure. So there's the both. But yeah, so it can feel painful when, um, someone's still in their own pain and they're not willing to fully meet you in this new relationship space. And, you know, what I can share is the more we continue to show up and open our hearts and hold this higher vision, right? Not leaving, because when we leave, and again, this is with money, this is with any relationship, whether it's a significant other, whether it's your business, whether it's with money, when you leave, you're not changing anything. When you're willing to be in your own discomfort and to sit there in the center of the confusion, the chaos, the uncomfortable feelings, other people's, it might not even be your discomfort, but it's the discomfort around you. When you're willing to sit there, to be vulnerable, to stay open, that is your true power. That love is an alchemist. It begins to change and transform things. You begin to change and transform. And so then the things around you can't not. So I'd love to hear from you. Share with me what's coming forward for you, what's moving through. And I'd also love to hear, what are you noticing in your own life, in your own relationship with money or the system, whether it's the money system, the government system, your business, your relationship. One area is still a reflection of this bigger unraveling that's happening. So if you're sick and tired of the loops and the patterns in your relationship with your husband, it's the same energy. The same energy as if you are sick and tired of the loops and the patterns in your relationship with your business or with your clients or with money. So let me know. I want to hear from you. Let's begin this conversation, talking about it, exploring. And this isn't about figuring it out. This is about just being here, willing to say, yeah, I've been struggling with this, or it's been frustrating. I'm here in the process. I love you, beauties, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you and deepening this conversation.